Hello, happy Saturday and welcome back to Conspiracy Cats. Now, some people think things fall not because of gravity, but purely due to differences in density. Now, I've got a little trick here that might confuse people that think that. I've got some water, you've probably seen this before, haven't you? And we put a lid on the water and then we tip it upside down over our heads. Watch this. It's disappointing.
That's fucking retarded.
I've got to stop doing that.
It don't make no fucking sense.
So, coming up in this video, we're going to be tackling D Marble and his experiment that claims that the moon gives off cold light. Chatbox Travels is going to return, and also we say goodbye to two of my favourite YouTubers. But before that, Antonio Subirats has done another response to me, so very quickly, let's check out what he had to say.
Antonio Subirats. Yeah.
Conspiracy Cats.
Hi Antonio. Now, to be honest, I've got a bone to pick with you. Last time we were talking, we were discussing centrifugal and centripetal forces, and I drew my little car on the hill, and then you just had to go and show me up, didn't you? Do you want to show everybody what you did?
Can you see what I have here? What I've done is I've just...
I know what you've done. You've shown up my drawing. I didn't know you were a professional artist. Your car's far better than mine.
I know that...
And not only that, you put some trees in the background and some... What was that other thing you put there?
A sand pit. A quicksand pit.
Well, I've drawn a sandpit too, yeah? Right here. And a tree, and a donkey, and a mountain, right? Let's ask Delano TV. Delano TV, isn't my picture better?
How? How, motherfucker?
All right, well, what does he know anyway? Let's ask Rapper B.O.B. And don't be surprised, I know who he is. Rapper B.O.B., isn't my picture better?
Look, man, I'm a fan. I grew up watching your show.
Suck my dick. It's fucking bullshit.
Get off him, Delano. Of course he likes my show. But B.O.B., what did you think of my drawing?
You know, I can point you to some books.
You mean colouring books, don't you? I'm not even going to let you finish that. All right, Antonio, you win.
Conspiracy Cats. Back to the drawing board.
Antonio, it's not just drawing that you schooled me on either, is it? You even schooled me on centripetal force with your demonstration. Let's have a look at what you did.
So can you see? Can you see how this is spin? Go. Okay, I practiced that.
I'm going to try that.
Ow! Shit a brick!
Let's just get to the science stuff.
Some odd things about the moon. We've only always seen just one side of the moon. We've always seen just this side of the moon.
True, but because of the elliptical orbit of the moon, as it orbits the Earth, it kind of wobbles like this, giving us a little peek of what's around this side and a little peek of what's around this side, proving to us that it's not a flat disk. Carry on.
That's why when people talk about the moon, they say the dark side of the moon.
Nope, they don't. The Dark Side of the Moon was an album by Pink Floyd. The far side of the moon is what we talk about. In fact, when it's a new moon for us, the far side of the moon, that you're referring to as dark, is 100% lit up by the sun. In fact, the far side of the moon gets just as much sunlight over the course of a rotation as the side we see. So it's not dark at all. Carry on.
But another strange aspect of the moon is the fact that we're told in the heliocentric model that the moon is actually supposed to be reflecting light from the sun, which doesn't make much sense if you ask me.
Well, it literally makes perfect sense to everybody else and the entire heliocentric model, which is backed by the entirety of science. So what do you think? What do you think's going on?
The way that the moonlight works apparently is that it sends off a cooler light.
So, he is right that the moonlight does have different properties to sunlight. That's because when the light leaves the sun, it contains the full electromagnetic spectrum from gamma to radio waves in certain proportions. But when it hits the moon and is reflected, well, the moon will absorb some of those wavelengths more than it will absorb other wavelengths. So the light immediately leaving the moon has different proportions of each of the electromagnetic waves in it. The light leaving the moon is also going to be partially polarized, because all reflected light is partially polarized. Now, I don't have to explain to D Marble the implications of that. I'm being polite. I know he doesn't know.
All right, so what we have here is aluminum foil on a little carpet from inside the van.
Okay, so what D Marble's going to do now is he's going to measure the temperature of that tin foil, or aluminum foil, depending on what side of the pond you're on. And he's going to use that as a baseline temperature before he puts 1/2 in moon shade and then measures the temperatures again. So you would think it would be important that he could get accurate measurements to start with, so when he compares his results at the end, he can draw an accurate conclusion. So let's have a look at how accurate his results are.
So here, let's just shoot one side. Okay, so that's the far side. We got 16 degrees on that side. Okay, now we're going to do this other side here. Alright, around 14, 15, 19, kind of dancing around here.
So basically, not accurate at all. The numbers keep bouncing around, but that doesn't deter him. He tries again.
Other side. 18, 20. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So, kind of within the same, 5, 10 degrees.
Yeah, stuff it. We can't get an answer, so they're within the same, 10 degrees. That's going to be reliable, surely. Crack on, D Marble.
On this side, you're still in the moonlight. This side is getting shade. Nope.
So what he's done now is take that piece of wood and put it in front of the left-hand side of the tin foil. And what that does is put the left-hand side of that foil in the moon shade. And on the right-hand side, it's in the moonlight. And he's going to measure the temperature of both sides to show us that the moonlight is cold. Let's watch.
Alright, so we're shooting the side with the moonlight, and we got 4 or 5 degrees.
Yeah, so in the space of about 30 seconds, the right-hand side of that tinfoil has dropped to about 4 or 5 degrees. Let's look at what it was literally 30 seconds ago.
Alright, around 14, 15, 19, kind of dancing around here.
But that's not going to bother him, because whatever results he gets from this, grand. Let's keep watching.
Okay, let's turn that off. Now we're going to shoot this side. Okay, and we're at 44. 43.
Okay, that's quite a big jump to jump straight to the 40s. Regardless of whether we can get a good baseline measurement or not, that is quite a big jump. But it's not because of what D Marble thinks. Ultimately, the device he's using doesn't measure the temperature of the laser point. It takes the temperature of the area around the point. It collects infrared radiation being emitted from the area around that laser point. And when we place that piece of wood next to the tinfoil, we are then adding an extra source of infrared radiation. Now, this is really, really easy to find. You can Google it, you can read it in the instructions of those thermometers. It takes the radiation from the area around. But D Marble doesn't think that deep. He doesn't even think to look at the instructions of the thermometer. This is the conclusion he comes to.
Looks like the moon actually sends out a colder light. Pretty much conclusive there. So,
well, it's not conclusive at all, is it? But if anyone can make it conclusive, Santa Claus can.
Hello, my name is Jerry Rogers.
No, it's Chris Kringle, and I've been a really good boy.
The moonlight currently in the shade, I'm going to get a recording of somewhere around 40 degrees. And then we go over here to the moonlight full on, and we've got 32.5, 33, somewhere right in that area.
All right, Santa. I admire your ability to fly around the Earth, defy physics, and give all the children of the Earth presents on Christmas Eve, but I do not admire your ability to identify a control variable. So what am I talking about? Well, when you were doing that experiment then, in the moon shade, you were measuring the temperature of a black rubber mat. When you did it in the moonlight, you were measuring the temperature of concrete. and you're somehow surprised you've got different temperatures. Let me talk to you about a pizza. You take a cold frozen pizza out the freezer. It's all cold. It's all the same temperature. You whack it in the oven. And when you take it out, what part do you burn your mouth on? Do you burn your mouth on the crust or on the cheese? We burn our mouth on the cheese because for some reason, even though that cheese has been in the oven for the same time as the crust, it comes out hotter. And that is to do with, and I know you like the whiteboard, Santa, specific heat capacity. When I apply energy to a material, the temperature rises. But the temperature will rise depending on how much of that material there is, right? The mass of it. But also what we call the specific heat capacity. This is the ability of a material, an intrinsic ability to absorb heat energy without its temperature rising. So, cheese, for example, has a low specific heat capacity. Energy goes in and its temperature rockets. The crust has quite a high specific heat capacity. The energy from the oven goes in and the temperature stays the same. And it's the same with the concrete and the rubber mat. The concrete has a much bigger specific heat capacity than the rubber mat. So its temperature doesn't rise as much as the rubber mat will. So you've got to learn about your control variables. If you're going to do this in future, use the same material, just like demarble. But do it without putting the piece of wood in the way. It's a difficult experiment to pull off. I've got sympathy for you. Bullshit you did. Chatbox travels.
Maybe tomorrow I wanna settle down. Until tomorrow I'll just keep moving on.
So, in this week's Chatbox Travels, we're going to start off with a Conspiracy Cat subscriber called John Chapman. Now, cast your mind back to when Peter and Pete were claiming that water wasn't made of hydrogen and oxygen. And we talked about the electrolysis of sodium chloride, and we said that hydrogen was given off at the cathode. Now, Peter and Pete responded by saying, well, hydrogen burns with an orange flame, and so does sodium. So actually, what's being given off is a sodium-based gas. Well, John Chapman says this.
Now, I'm going to paraphrase, but what he says is basically, let's just use a potassium-based salt instead, because potassium burns with a lilac flame, and that will make any confusion instantly go away.
John, you're absolutely right. If we use potassium chloride instead of sodium chloride, then if Peter and Pete are right, which they're not, we will get a lilac flame at the cathode. And we don't. It's a shame Peter and Pete don't watch my videos. I know you do, boys. Now, next comment.
My name is Earth Flattener, and I say Sleeping Warrior should make this right and spend some time promoting the unsubscribing of this baller.
So this comment was taken from one of the videos made by Ranty Flat Earth. Now, my previous dealings with Anthony Riley, aka Sleeping Warrior, have always been extremely positive. He's always been a real gentleman. And in fact, when I first started, he gave me a shout out on Nathan Oakley's show, which gave me my first 100 subscribers or so, and I'll always be grateful for that. But Earth Flattener, he seems a little bit resentful, and he's now calling for Anthony to give a shout out to get people to unsubscribe to me. So I replied to Earth Flattener. This is what I said.
Oh, and this is just a thought. I'm just putting it out there. Maybe you could ask all your friends to subscribe to me instead. Maybe a poster campaign in your neighbourhood, or use graffiti on local schools and hospitals to get people to subscribe to my channel. Maybe you could phone up TalkSport Radio and instead of talking football, just say Conspiracy Cats over and over again. Let me know your thoughts. I'm excited on how this might work out. Kind regards, CC.
Now, up until this point, Earth Flattener has not responded. Maybe he's busy out graffitiing hospitals for me or something. I don't know. But I've got some sad news now. 2 of my favourite YouTubers just seem to have disappeared. The first one is Block for Block. Do you remember him? He's the guy who said this.
Conspiracy Cats, I think all fucking teachers are mongs.
He's not been around for ages. I think he's gone. I think he's given up the ghost and left. I'm going to miss you, man, so much. Now, the other YouTuber who's left us this week is a guy called Mr. Cheswick. He's resigned from YouTube because he thinks there's politics at play. In his last video, he left this message.
Fuck you, YouTube. We all know it's rigged now. We all know fake debunkers like Sci-Fan Dan and conspiracy cats are being rolled out to keep the brain-dead masses in their boxes. Woo!
Now, I feel really bad about Mr. Cheswick leaving for two reasons. The first one is he's right. I really am a paid shill. And Mr. Cheswick, if you're watching, get back on YouTube, take this clip and spread it around the internet. I am a paid shill. The government pay me millions of pounds to sit here and make these videos. I know the truth. I know the earth is flat. But I'm taking taxpayers' money to make you think otherwise. So that's the first reason I feel bad that you've left YouTube. The second reason I feel bad is that you've left all your music covers up. Can you take them down too? Anyway, I'll see you all on Tuesday.